Congressman, I want to talk about some things that might be on the minds of our friends at home. A year after the U.S. military took out Osama bin Laden, in your opinion, how safe are we today?
Well, we're much safer than we were years ago, and this is the work that both President Bush and President Obama should be able to get credit for. But most importantly, the men and women that have been working on this on the front line, the people who have been sacrificing their family time, their lives, all the effort. The American people working together have pulled this off and been able to address the issue. We're much safer today than we were.
You believe we're much safer today than we were?
Absolutely,
okay.
I would say we're much safer today.
All right, let's move over and talk about college student. You supported, actually, the extension of that college student loan rate freeze?
Yes, absolutely.
Why?
Well, I think that it's something that we need to address right now. You got half of the students are unemployed that are coming out. Right now, with the way the economy is, it's still terrible. Almost 1 in 10 San Diegans unemployed, and over 50% of students graduating aren't getting jobs or are underemployed. I think right now we ought to be concentrating on creating the job opportunities, allowing the private sector to create those jobs so these students can pay off their loans, not pay interest. And I think the issue of creating jobs is where Washington ought to be focusing on right now.
All right, speaking of Washington, Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, Treasury Secretary Timothy Geithner, they are headed to Beijing this week. They're going to be talking with China on issues like trade, North Korea. What do you hope comes out of those talks?
Well, I hope they're very blunt about one thing, and that is our greatest threat we were saying about security is cybersecurity, and China has been stealing our patent rights, stealing information, actually stealing huge amounts of information is used for creating jobs in the United States, and they've been using the internet as a way of, and the cyber network to steal information to create jobs in China. I think we need to confront them that if they want to be a friend of ours, then they've got to quit breaking the law and quit stealing American intellectual resources, quit stealing our jobs out from under us. And we need to be kind of blunt and frank. I mean, friends, don't let friends rip people off. And the fact is, you just got to be frank enough to tell them the days are over with China. We're not going to look the other way anymore. We're at a situation that we desperately need jobs, and we can't afford for you to steal anymore.
Okay, speaking of ripping people off, the latest out of the General Services Administration, those hearings that are happening on Capitol Hill, how do we further prevent these abuses? We've talked about this several times on our show, these lavish trips to Las Vegas.
Well, we got to get to the base problem. I mean, we talk about the influence of money in politics and about the way the government spends money. Quit thinking that sending all our money to Washington is the best way for us to distribute the prosperities of a free system. Stop thinking that more money in Washington is always the answer. And what happens is, this is exactly what happens. That $800,000 that could have been spent here in San Diego to talk about working on our streets. But the GSA, who's supposed to be taking care of our money, was actually end up throwing it away. I guess the real sad part about it is these guys were supposed to be the watchdogs, and they were at the trough worse than a lot of people. Sadly, it shows that there's a real credibility problem when it comes to the federal government, and we've got to do more than just talk about it. And we've also got to make them live within a budget. That's something they haven't been doing a long time. In fact, we haven't even had a budget out of the Senate for over 3 years. It's kind of really tough to be able to rein in overspending when you've got one half of Congress not even willing to have a blueprint of how we're going to keep them from spending too much. So I think this is a shame on everything, and I'm sure the people in Vegas aren't happy with it either.
Hey, the shame on everything. Before I let you go, let's talk about the Secret Service. We've been talking about this every day. Are you confident that they are properly being investigated after this whole prostitution scandal in Colombia?
I think they are. And look, one thing that we've
really?
got.
How so?
I think they're being investigated by the Oversight Committee. I think just like Fast and Furious, I think Darrell Issa is doing a pretty good job about it. B1 is I certainly have to feel for his sons, because I can imagine how he was a father watching the way he reviews and addresses this. And there's an investigation where both Democrats and Republicans are working together on government oversight in the House of Representatives. And it's the one place you don't see the national media talk a lot about, but actually there's a lot of bipartisan cooperation to really dive into this thing. This is not a Democrat or Republican problem. This is an American problem. And I think when you look at Darrell and his committee, and both Democrats and Republicans, you're seeing people work together as Americans, and I think that's what people want to see more of. And I just wish the national media would point that out. But I guess that's not how the system works.
All right, Congressman Brian Bilbray, thanks for being here. Good to see you.
Thank you very much. Great to be home.
All right, it's 7:24. Let's get you back over to